Hello, students. Today, we're going to talk about something we all know is important, our health. But have you ever thought about how your personal health can actually affect the entire country's economy? It's a big idea, and that's exactly what we're going to explore today. To get started, let's think about a very simple question. Who can work better? On one hand, you have a healthy person, they're efficient, they have lots of stamina, and they can concentrate on their work. But on the other hand, you have an unhealthy person who might have to take days off, lacks stamina, and finds it really difficult to concentrate. It's quite clear, isn't it? The healthy person is going to be so much more productive. And this very simple idea is the key to our entire lesson today. So, here's our plan for today. First, we'll look at the connection between health and work. Then we'll understand a very important term, human capital. We'll then see this idea in real life through the story of two friends. After that, we'll talk about why a nation's people are its greatest asset. And finally, we will wrap it all up with the final takeaway. All right, so let's jump right into our first section, the direct link between health and work. Now, this is the most crucial point. When a person is healthy, it's not just a personal benefit for them. You see, when a healthy person works productively, they are directly helping the whole country's economy to grow. When more and more people are healthy and efficient, the whole nation becomes stronger. This idea that people themselves can power an economy brings us to a really important concept in economics. Let's find out what we mean by human capital. So, this brings us to the term human capital formation. It sounds a bit complicated, but the idea is simple. Think of it this way. A country's population becomes a powerful asset, a form of capital, when there is an investment made in them. Just like a factory owner invests in new machines, a country invests in its people through education, training, and very importantly, medical care. And, human capital isn't just a theory. It's all around us. A doctor who treats patients, a teacher who educates students, a skilled tailor who makes clothes. All of them are productive assets for the economy. It is their health, their education, and their skills that allow them to do their work and create value for everyone. This quote explains it perfectly. Spending money on a person's health and education is not an expense. No, it is an investment. And like any good investment, it gives a return. And what is that return? Well, for the person, it means a higher income. And for the society, it means higher productivity and growth. Okay, to understand how this all works in real life, let's look at a story. It's the story of two friends, Sakal and Vilas, and we'll see how big a difference health and education can make in someone's life. So let's meet Sakal and Vilas. They're two friends who grew up together in this same village. But as we're about to see, even though they started in the same place, their lives went in two very, very different directions. This table here really breaks down their different journeys. Let's look at health. Sakal was physically strong and healthy. Vilas, on the other hand, was a patient of arthritis and couldn't even see a doctor. Now, education. Sakal completed his schooling and even did a computer course. But Vilas, he did not go to school at all. And look at the result. Sakal got a good job in a private firm. Vilas was forced to do the same low-income work as his mother, selling fish. This huge difference in health and education led directly to a huge gap in their incomes and their futures. So, in Sakal's life, we see something called a virtuous cycle. It's a positive cycle. Because his parents invested in his education and he was healthy, he got a good job and earned well. This creates a positive loop, where one good thing leads to another, creating a better and better future. But in contrast, Vilas's story shows us a vicious cycle. This is a negative cycle. His poor health and his lack of education trapped him in poverty. This is how disadvantaged parents who might be uneducated and unhealthy themselves can end up passing on that same state of disadvantage to their own children. The stories of Sakal and Vilas really show us the impact of health on one person. But now, let's zoom out. Let's look at the bigger picture and see why this matters for an entire country. This brings us to the idea of a nation's greatest asset. You see, a country's greatest resource isn't its gold mines or its big factories. It's the people. The quality of a nation's population is what really decides its future. And this quality depends on a few key things: the literacy rate, the skills that people have, and, as we've been discussing, their health. Now, one very important way we can measure the health of an entire population is by looking at its life expectancy. What does this mean? Well, it is the average number of years a person is expected to live in that country. And a higher life expectancy is a very good sign. It tells us that the overall health conditions in that country are good.
Let's take the powerful example of Japan. Japan has very few natural resources of its own, so how did it become one of the richest countries in the world? The answer is quite simple, actually. They invested in their people. They focused heavily on providing good health and good education. This proves that a nation's human resources are truly its most valuable asset.
So, how does a country do this? How does it turn its population into a productive asset? Well, it needs to make smart investments in some key areas. Making sure healthcare is available for everyone, providing good education and training, ensuring people have proper nutrition and hygiene, and supporting scientific research that can improve our lives. We have covered a lot of ground today. So now let's bring it all together and focus on the single most important message, the final takeaway. This is the one sentence I really want you to remember. Health is an indispensable basis for realizing one's well-being. Now, that word indispensable, it means something is absolutely necessary. You cannot do without it. So what this means is that without good health, it is simply impossible for any person to reach their full potential and live a good life. And therefore, the conclusion is very clear. For any country that wants to grow and develop, improving the health of its population cannot be just one of many options. It must be the top priority. A healthy nation will always be a productive nation. So, we've learned that a healthy and educated population is the key to progress. But let's think about this a little more. What happens if you have all these healthy, skilled, and educated people, but they can't find jobs? Well, that's a very, very important question, and it's one that we will explore in our next lesson.